I'm about to show you one of the most frequently asked questions: how to stop a shot. Most people say, oh, how do you shoot? How do you take a guy down? But on the other side, I get a lot of people ask me, well, how do you stop a shot? Well, if I got a guy shooting on me, how do I stop it? Well, I tell people, if I'm shooting on you, highly unlikely you're going to stop it, but you can stop the shot. There are a lot of techniques that you can utilize. I've never been taken down, and I have a lot of confidence in my ability to stop someone from shooting on me, and I have a lot of confidence in my ability to take someone down. I'm going to show you basic fundamental principles behind how to stop a shot. First off, you got to understand that I have a couple different lines of defense, and it varies some in NHB because in wrestling you're a little more leaned over, you have a lot more body contact, and you're in a lot tighter. For NHB, since you're into kicking and punching, there's a difference in space, and that space difference is what's going to be utilized to your advantage to stop the shot. You have to understand a couple different principles too, is that from a lead leg, whatever lead leg that you have out in front is basically it's the closest point to the offensive man or defensive man. So you have to understand, if I'm taking that lead leg away from him, I am making it a lot more difficult for him to shoot on me. That's the first principle. The first principle is that if he's going to attack me and I'm walking this lead leg towards him, I'm always shortening the distance for him to attack me. So the easiest basic thing you can do, one way to prevent a takedown, is if I am here, I'm walking my lead leg away from him. I'm walking it away from him, circling it away. Now, if he wants to attack me, it makes it a lot more difficult for him to attack me because I'm constantly taking that lead leg away from him. It's a really simple concept, and you can play around with it, and you'll get to understand what I'm talking about. He's chasing me. I'm not bringing it to him and making it a lot easier. Even if I'm outside of his punching and kicking range, if I'm still walking towards him with my lead leg, it's making the distance a lot shorter. It's going to let me have another second reaction time if I'm walking that lead leg away from him. And then I showed you some different variations when I'm attacking. Now I'm going to show you some variations that you can do when you're on the defense. The first principle, like I said, is walking that lead leg away. The second principle of defense is that I'm going to use my hands to slap his hands away. Just like if you're punching that you see wax on, wax off, and it sounds kind of corny even to say, but if he threw a punch here, I would deflect the punch away. And it's the same thing if he attacks my leg, I'm going to deflect the punch away by just taking my hand, and it's called a down block. I take my hand if he attacks me and I down block it. If he shoots a double on me, I down block and I just block one. And what I want to do is I want to take my lead leg away from him. Because like I said earlier, in the fundamentals of takedowns, is that I'm trying to capture his front leg. My primary objective is to take that lead leg away. And in the process of taking that lead leg away, I snap my hand down and I move away from him. So if he shoots a double on me, he's trying to capture this leg, I take that leg away from him. Because over the years I kind of developed a really good sense of when someone's going to shoot on me, I can do it casually. I can take and pull that one leg away, and I can still maintain a good sense of balance and movement and awareness. But when you're just starting out and you're starting to understand what you're trying to prevent him from doing, you have to really overemphasize a sprawl, it's called. But I use a sprawl and a down block in combination together. If a guy attacks me and he shoots on me trying to capture my lead leg, I take my lead leg away, I block his hand, and I block his other hand. Now I'll turn him this way and I'll show you. When he attacks that lead leg, I block his hand away from me and I pull that leg away. As long as I can do that and block those hands away, if he can't grab my leg, he can't take me down. It's really fundamental and it's really basic. But it's very important that you understand the principles of what he's trying to do. And if you understood the fundamentals of the takedown, you should be able to adapt these defensive positions a lot better. So when he attacks me, I'm blocking here and I'm taking my legs away from him. And it really works well even if he attacks one leg. If he just attacks with this hand out here, I just snap it away and I take and block him. It's really, really simple and it's really effective. But you have to understand that I'm walking that leg away from him, and also when he attacks me, I take and snap it away, and I'm just in so much better position. It makes it really hard for him. Even though that he can close that distance relatively fast, it still makes it really, really difficult for him to even get close to my legs. And that's the first line of defense. The second line of defense that you have, if you do get in, if he does get in on a shot, is you have a full-out sprawl. And one thing that you have to understand about a sprawl is that when I am doing this, I literally drop my weight on him. And when I drop my weight on him, I'm dropping it as hard as I can, weight all the pressure right on top of him, and at the same time I'm spreading my legs out so I can maintain my balance. It's really important that you maintain your balance in this position. So when I drop my weight down, I'm not just squatting down, I'm squatting and I'm pushing my legs down. And also, I'm pushing down on his head. I want to keep him out of this position. And the fundamentals that I showed you is there's a groove that you fit in here. I want to knock him out of that groove. And by knocking him out of that groove, he becomes weaker, I become stronger. And that's what I want in this position. I want to make myself feel like I weigh 10 tons. So when I push him down and I sprawl back, I sprawl and I spread my legs out. And from this position, it makes it really hard for him to be offensive. Really hard. So when he attacks me instantly, I'm on his head and I'm spreading my legs out. So he shoots a double here, automatically here. I'm automatically spread out, pushing his head down. Now I start to gain control. But from here, you have to understand that I weight him down, and I am square with him. A lot of times what happens is when I see different people attack, is that they get off balance, and they'll give them one hip or the other. Real slow, Tom. When they're in here, they'll turn here, they'll give them a hip, different ways, and they won't sprawl square. And when they do that, it's really easy for him to just chop me here and knock me off balance, or chop me to the other side and knock me off balance. It's really easy. When you sprawl, I need you to sprawl square, all your weight down, and your legs spread now. You can't sprawl with your legs together like this because it's still really easy for him to knock you off balance. Get on his head, sprawl out. Put my weight on him, push his head down. That's the beginning of a good defense. And when you do it instantly. Your reactions aren't hesitation. Your reactions have to come natural. You can't think about it. The second that I feel his attack, I sprawl automatically. If I miss the down blocks, come into the next part of my defense, is I sprawl. Hips square, legs come out, sprawl hard, make myself feel as heavy as I can. It's good technique, good principle. From this position, when I sprawl back, like I was saying, is I make my hips as heavy as I can, I spread my legs out, I control his head. What I want to do is I want to stretch him out. I want to get him as long as possible. If I stretch him out, he has little or no strength. So when I'm pulling him back, if he wants to hang on, he can hang on, but I keep stretching him out. He becomes weaker and weaker and weaker the further he gets out. I took his head from here, and I pushed it to the center of my legs. I'm in total control right here. I'm in absolute control. Now what happens here is there's a couple different things that I can use. One thing that I like to do is I like to grab a tight waist, I call it, is really I'm grabbing his rib cage right at the bottom. And when I grab his rib cage at the bottom, I'm reaching all the way around, as far as I can reach around. I'm reaching around. If I could reach around to the other side of him, I'd reach around to the other side of him. Makes it really tight. If you look, if we spin all the way around to the other side, you'll see what I'm talking about. As I take this hand and I reach all the way around to here, if I can. The whole while, this whole time, he's still trying to take me down. But what I've done is I've taken his double leg attack from here, and I push his head to the inside, I sprawl back. See where my legs are and my hips are? All the weight's on his shoulders right now. I want to reach in as far as I can right here. As far as I can. And when I do this, I'm going to reach around his ankle. And when I reach around to his ankle, all I'm going to do is pull his ankle out this way, and I'm going to pull as hard as I can on that arm I have around his rib cage. So what I'm doing, I'm here, and I'm expanding my chest, and I'm pulling on that leg. And at the same time, I'm forcing my hips down to the ground. You're going to have to play with this a couple times before you understand what I'm talking about. If you watch my hips and my chest and this, those are the key points. Watch my hips. It is so tight. You can ask him. He's not faking the gasp and the moans. I grab here and here, and what I'm doing is I'm forcing my hips down to the ground, and I'm prying on him. And it creates a great lever. And the whole idea behind that is I get him totally flat, and it makes it a little easier for me to be able to get around him and get his back. I might not get his back right off the bat because he might sit through and put me into a guard or a different position. But at least I have the opportunity from here to take what he tries to utilize an offensive position to turn that into my advantage. So he shoots, I pop his head to the inside, I sprawl, I reach around here, and I'm holding tight. I'm still staying balanced because we're still fighting. I grab this leg here, and I force my chest up and down, and I force my hips down. And what that really does is it finishes breaking the locks on his hands. Okay? When he does this, he can grab a hold of me as tight as he wants. He can grab me as tight as he wants. And all I have to do is go. From there, here, it makes it really easy as I block him here and I spin behind him. From here, I got his back if I want it. And all this happens within split seconds. I'm moving and I'm keeping balance and I'm keeping focused on what I'm trying to do is control him. I'll look at it one more time. I'm only gonna do it a couple more times to him. I don't think he really enjoys this. He shoots in on me, I sprawl. When I sprawl, remember, making my hips heavy, put my legs back. Here. Automatically, when I start doing this, his head's already starting to slide. Head slides to the inside. Here, I reach around tight. I'm keeping tight to him. And when I do this, here to here, and I pull with this. When I pull with this, I expand my chest. And it breaks the lock. And if you look again, I'm going to do it without him underneath me. And you kind of see what I'm doing principle-wise. Because I'm grabbing here, and I'm pulling this. At the same time, I'm lowering my hips. I'm grabbing here, and I'm lowering my hips. And it's so tight. It is really tight. And you can get your partner, and you play around with this. And once you feel it once, you'll understand the principles behind it. It's a lot of leverage, and I'm lowering my hips, and I'm forcing them down to the ground. Don't have to be a big, strong guy to do it. I can grab someone, 50 pounds lighter, and if they execute this with the right technique, it's really a strong, powerful hold. Another technique that I want to show, besides a sprawl, it's a catch. Like when I feel the guy shoot, I'm literally going to catch. And a lot of guys do this, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of guys get caught in a guillotine that take a shot. A guy will shoot, and literally the guy's waiting to catch him, and will catch his head. Now I'll turn this way. Literally, they're waiting. They're sitting here, guy shoots, catches his head. Okay? And it's one of the fears that you have is when you're executing techniques, and the fundamental tape that I showed you on shots, I didn't emphasize, I don't think, enough on how important it is when you shoot that you tuck your chin. But a lot of times what happens is that you do get caught in this. Now for me, as defending against a shot, this is a great technique. But what I do is I catch this with an arm and with a sprawl. And I'm going to show it to you from the other side because it's a little bit better. Is literally I catch under here, okay? I catch under here and I catch the head. And at the same time I sprawl back. Or I can catch over. It doesn't matter. For me, the technique, you can play around with. These are two variations to it. And one thing about all the technique that I showed you to this point is that you can kind of take and mold it and fix it and use little bits and pieces, and you can make your own style of fighting from it. I'm just sharing with you some of the things that I use, some of the techniques that I prefer. They're not the best techniques in the world, but you know what? They are effective. I've proven that over and over again. One technique that I like here, like I was saying, is I like the front headlock. Now, most people call it a guillotine. A guillotine is this with no arms in it, a guillotine choke. And I'm sure that you've seen that executed a couple times. What I like to do is I like to catch. Literally, the guy shoots, I sprawl, and when I sprawl, I catch him. And when I catch him here, I sprawl back and I pull him down. And when I pull him down, I'm keeping my legs away from him. Okay? Now what I was saying is you can catch under here or you can catch over. Usually if you catch under, you stop him from grabbing your leg, which is an advantage. But it's not such a disadvantage to have yourself over his arm and under his armpit. And when I catch him, I'm going to put him in this part of my shoulder. We'll spin around here. You can catch him right here, like this. What I like to think about is I'm going to keep my shoulder right here in the center of his back. Now, it might seem like I'm giving him a little too much arm because in here there's something called a sucker drag that you have to be careful of. If Tom was catching me here, I have a sucker drag that I use to come out, okay? And that's one thing that you have to be careful of. So me as being the defensive man, I'm totally aware that, man, he might know this drag. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to protect by keeping my shoulder in the center and keeping my hand cupped on his chin. My shoulder's here, and I'm catching him underneath the armpit. Now I want to get up off of my knees, and I want to get on my toes. And from this position here, I can use a little spin behind. I can pull him forward and spin behind, which I showed. You can utilize that. Or a technique that I like to use is I like to do a choke from here. And the choke can include the arm. It doesn't have to. And the way that I shake him up a little bit is right from this position here, I lock. And if you look, if Tom turn this up a little, turn this like this here so you can see. When I lock with this arm here as a blade, and I lock here with my hands, and I lock and I pull it tight. I pinch my elbows together, and I have my head and my shoulder here, right, the crooks of his neck, and I have my head right here on his side. What I like to do from this position here is I'm going to turn around so you can see. We keep moving around here. You'll enjoy this. This is a good choke. I have my shoulder buried here, my head here, my hands barely locked, okay? And what I like to do here is I like to take this leg, shoot it under, and this leg and throw it over. And when I do that, I roll them all the way through. Here. And right from here, what I need to do is I need to hip up. And what I mean by that is if I just did a cross leg here, I'm going to scissor my legs here, and then I come up on top. But I don't want his body to move. I just want to come up on top. And when I come up on top, I'm in really good position to choke now because I'm just going to roll up on top of him. And it can get tight. Now I'll show it to you again. But you have to understand this is really an advanced technique. And you have to be able to execute this instantaneously, and that comes with a lot of practice. And it's not hokey pokey, it's a good hold if you utilize it and understand the fundamentals behind it. I'm trapping him here, and when I trap him here, I'm going to lock down. I'm keeping my legs away from him. My primary responsibility is not to let him take me down. Now I'm in a position where I might be able to capitalize, and I might be able to finish the fight. So I'm going to lock this across his jugular, and I'm going to lock this as tight as I can to pinch my elbows together. When I pinch my elbows together here, it makes that lock really tight. What I want to do is I want to slide this leg under, this leg over. And at the same time, I'm going to control the roll right here. When I get to this position, I want to hip up. And what I mean by that is I want to take my hips and I want my pelvic to be pointed to the ground. So from here, I hip up. It tightens that lock up. And when it tightens that lock up, I want to come up on top. And when I come up on top, all I'm going to do is I'm going to roll into him. It makes it really tight. I'll let him breathe. That helps out a lot. And I tell you what, I'll show it to you with no one. From this locked position here, I'm going to use my elbows. Normally you're not on your elbows. But what I want you to do is throw one leg under. There's actually a little drill that you do. It's called a hip hoist. From this position, you go here, like this, hand down, and then you go under. You can go under here. You can stay balanced, go back, stay balanced, back here. And that's what I'm doing. Right from this position here, just like if I had my hands here, going under. Except this time I'm going to take him with me. I'm going to roll. Here, under, roll him here. Hands up in this position. Now I'm going to hip hoist again. When I hip hoist again, it's going to draw that lock tighter. When I draw that lock tighter, there it is. Right from here. Now all I want to do is I regain my balance, secure myself, and I roll into him. And it locks that really tight. You're going to have to pay really close attention to this. It's really important. And the reason why I roll him through is it keeps him off balance. Really, actually, it's a good way to secure that lock. It's an excellent, excellent hold. But remember, your primary responsibility is to keep him from taking you down. Right? In the process of learning NHB, I've incorporated into my whole genre of stuff, kicking and punching. Since I've put that into part of my NHB fighting, I've had to utilize some techniques to get out of situations that I might get into when I'm delivering kicks. One possible situation is if I do deliver a kick and a kick gets caught, what happens? What am I going to do? I showed you earlier some of the techniques that I use. If an opponent kicks me, I step into it, I catch, absorbing most of the kick with my thigh. And when I catch, I finish the technique, and I showed you what I do to take him down. Now, I'm going to show you the counter to it. If I kick and he catches, okay, one thing that I totally have to be aware of right off the bat is my balance. I'm going to hop around here. I do a little drill. And the drill that I do is I have a guy grab my leg, secure it nice and tight, and he'll drag me around, and I stay balanced. I just stay balanced. Balance, he can drag, push, and pull. I can grab a hold of him, and I gotta stay balanced. I have to be able to maintain a level of balance in here. If I can't even do that, I'm just way behind in the game. My balance in this position is improved by making him part of my balance. It might sound silly, but what I do is I pick a point. It's this leg here that I'm going to make the leg that's off my ground feel like. So I want to hook him and make this leg my point of balance. So it's just as if I had both feet on the ground. That's the first and foremost important thing. I deliver a kick, he catches it, now I have to stay balanced. I don't want to go to the ground and get in a scramble. I'm going to utilize this position to capitalize, and I want to turn it into an offensive position for me. One thing that I do is I come tight to his body. I want to come tight to his body. And if you notice what I do is I hook my foot behind his. That helps keep my balance. From this position here, I can do two things. One is I can escape, or I can turn it into offensive position. And like I've been reiterating over and over again, I'd much rather take a position that I'm in and try to utilize it to an advantage for me. From this position here, I'm using this as a balance point. I want to rotate this foot to the inside and I want to hook it. And the whole time I'm staying close to him. When I rotate this foot to the inside and hook it, I'm going to use this now for an offensive position. You can let this go and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hook with my foot inside here. And at the same time, I'm going to secure this arm. And watch what happens. I secure under his armpit and I secure on his wrist. And when I do that, I can turn this into an offensive position. Because from here, I'm going to take him down. And it works really well from this position here. Kick, he catches. I come close and I fight this inside. Now, some people might want to strike or punch. That's secondary. My primary thing is I don't want to get taken down. I want to take him down. I hook under his armpit. I hook and lock his wrist as tight as I can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as a lever. And all I'm going to do is roll. All I'm going to do is take a hop step forward with this, and I'm going to roll to my back. At the same time, I'm going to flip him. So I take a hop step here, and I roll him, and I flip him. And from here, I can recover up. There's one lock I can do with his wrist here, but more than likely it turns into a scramble. Who's in the better position now? I am. I'm in a position here where I can come up. I already got the arm trapped. Because that arm's trapped, I can utilize strikes. I can come across and do my finishing holds from here. I can do a variety of things. It puts me in a better position. It takes something that potentially could have been a bad position, turns it into an offensive position for me. And that's what I try to do at every position that I'm in. I try to take advantage of it. And that's what I think is unique about what I do, is that I don't want to get away. I want to try to utilize every opportunity I can to put myself in a position to either submit through a choke, an arm lock, or submit through strikes. Remember, the important points of this are, when I kick, if he does catch it, I have to close the distance down. When I close the distance down, I'm underhooking here. Actually, it's overhooking. I'm going to overhook. I grab him in the armpit, I slide down, and if he insists on holding on to the leg, I'm going to take him for a ride. And most times not, the guy thinks that he's in a better position here. He thinks that he's going to finish the hold. The most important thing is when I lock onto this wrist here, when I lock onto it, I have to secure it. Because without this, it's not going to work. I'm just going to flip and fall right on my back. I hop. When I hop, it's to get leverage to pry with my leg. And literally, I can do this here. If he's not, don't fall down. If he's right here, literally, it's the same thing. If I was here, I can still use what I have here in my leg to pop enough leverage to get him to go over. I can set him right here on top of me, and I can pop him and he'd go over right from here. That's where the leverage comes from. Now you just imagine, we'll show it in a little faster speed what happens, is that if I kick, he catches here, I bring him in, holding this here. When I hop across him, I can use a lot of leverage and really pop him here. When I come into this position, I have to improve right away. And like I've been telling you over and over again, you have to be nimble and mobile on the ground. You have to be able to move, and you have to be able to keep your distances tight. From here, like I said, you can come up and you can crunch a wrist because you have a good end point. What I like to do is I like to fold my leg underneath and trap. When I trap his arm, it's pretty tight. I sit back on his arm. He can come into me and do whatever he wants to do. I'm in control. I just took one of his arms away. He's not punching, he's not doing anything. Now I can administer as many strikes as I want in order to get him to submit. I hope you enjoyed this tape on countering leg attacks. I know that if you practice the principles that I teach you here on this tape, you're going to be able to defend against leg attacks effectively. You know they're going to shoot on you, and you know they're going to attack your legs, but if you apply these principles and you practice them, you're going to be able to stop it, and you're going to become a great master at defending leg attacks. As a fighter, my primary background is wrestling. I've been wrestling competitively for 16 years. I've accomplished quite a few things in the wrestling field. I've been an NCAA champ. I've won a World Cup. I've won a couple national freestyle titles. And from there, that gave me the foundation to make a good transition into the NHB world. A couple years ago, I decided that that's the area that I wanted to pursue. So I decided that I would get involved with it. And my first event was down in Brazil, where I fought in a Vale Tudo event down there in January of '97. And it was probably one of the roughest introductions into the sport of freestyle fighting. I ended up fighting a Brazilian named Fabio Gugel, and I fought 2 times earlier that night and fought Fabio in the finals, which was a 30-minute fight, which some people tell me it's going to go down as one of the classic all-time fights. And from there, I ended up competing in several UFC events, and I've won both of those events, and recently I've competed in a Pride event. And to this date, I haven't been defeated yet, and you know, this is all part of my process of getting to this point. Is I've really adapted from my wrestling skills, a style of fighting, taking the best of the best from the various arts and putting them all together into a fighting style that really relies on foundation and basic principles. And I think that's the most important point that I carry with all of my fighting styles, that I've taken a little bit of everything, and I've taken a foundation from Muay Thai, foundation from Jiu-Jitsu, foundation from Pankration, and I've all put it together. And I've taken those fundamentals, I think, to a new level. And I think it's really, really why I'm in the position I'm in right now. And I think it's why I'm able to put together a tape and show you the fundamentals and have you try and understand where I come from. And I come from a very basic background, nothing really fancy. I believe that for you as a fighter to reach the top level, as any individual, it takes a lot of dedication. And you hear people say it over and over again, and it takes dedication beyond what you know that you have inside to give. I look at myself, and every single day I try and get better than I was the day before. I try and learn something today that I didn't know yesterday. And it sounds like a hard concept, but you know, every day you have to expect a little more out of yourself and a little more out of yourself. And if you do that, every day you become better and better and better. And I believe that's really a key foundation to what it takes to become a great fighter, is that you have to expect yourself to be better than anyone else has ever expected you to be. And I think if you keep that in mind, you'll end up really elevating yourself to a different level as a person and as a fighter. So what it means is today's fighter has to be well-rounded. They have to be an expert in kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, grappling, ground fighting. All those skills have to be right on the money. You can't leave anything for chance. You have to take the best of the best from each of those arts, and you have to become an expert in them. My future goals in the sport are to definitely leave a mark on it. I want people generations from now to look back and really reflect on me as a person and say that I brought the sport to a new level. I gave something to the sport that hadn't been given to it before. And like I said before, being an expert in all those areas and putting it together and developing your own style is going to leave a mark in history. And because martial arts is just thousands of years old, I want to be part of that heritage. I want to take it to the next level. And that's the mark that I want to leave on it. I really believe that the sport's going to continue to evolve, and it's going to continue to grow. And with that growth, you're going to find a new evolution of fighters 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and generations from now. And I know that I will have a place in history, and I will have a mark on that evolution.